So in this video, I'm going to explain a little bit about the grading system that we use here at SEC. The first thing that you need to know is that students need to get 73% in order to pass their level. From these grades, the 73% is going to come from exams, both written and oral exams, that will make up 80% of their total grade. The final oral exam is 10% of their grade, and that occurs on the last day of class. And then the other thing that they can get graded on is the instructor's evaluation. That will be 10% of their grade, and this is whatever the instructor wants it to be. It can be homework that you've assigned, or if the students have worked on a project. It could be anything you do in class. For example, if you did something in a group, workbook. You could even do things like participation or the student's effort. It could be also their use of English, how often they use English in the classroom. The only thing about the instructor's evaluation is that you can only grade in increments of 2 points. So if you had 5 different activities, each of them would need to be 2 points. You could give, for example, if you had a project, you could give 4 points to that project, but you would not be able to give 5 points to the project. And this is because of the way later you'll learn how to put the grades into the system. But when you put the grades into the system, you can only put from 0 to 2 points for each of those parameters. And then the next thing that the students are graded on, aside from their actual exams or the things that they do in class, they are graded or they're given a grade for their attendance. In other words, they need to be in class 80% of the time. If you're teaching a Monday through Friday class, this means that they can be absent up to 8 days during the cycle because every single day of class is 2 hours, and so they can miss up to 16 hours. If they miss those 8 days, there's no problem. They will still be able to pass the level without any problems. If you're teaching on Saturdays, they can only be absent 3 times because Saturdays are 5 hours each, and so they're longer class times. If the students do miss more than 80% of the level, in other words, they have 9 or 10 absences or more, they can pass the level, but they will need to justify their absences. And this means that they have to go through the secretaries, they have to justify their absences, and at the same time, they will now need 83% to pass the level. They no longer will pass with 73. They'll have to try a little bit harder, put more effort into learning what they needed to learn, because they weren't in class, and now they can pass with 83. Another thing to realize about attendance is students will be marked late if they come to class anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes late. If they're in class from 0 to 10 minutes late, we don't consider them late, but after 10 minutes up to 20 minutes, they would be considered late. And 3 lates or tardies is actually 1 absence. So it's important that they don't miss very much class. This would also be the same if they left class early. For example, they left class 15 minutes early, especially if this is something they do quite a bit. You can take those lates or that time that they're missing from class, and it will actually translate. If they do it 3 times, it will translate into 1 absence for them. If they are absent more, or if they're late, for example, more than 20 minutes to class, or for example, they leave 20 minutes early, then it's automatically considered an absence, and you will mark the student as absent. If the student does come 20 minutes late or 25 minutes late, they can definitely spend time in the class. They can come and they can attend class, but you should not give them credit for attendance for that day. So as I was mentioning before, the students, if they are more than 80% of the time absent, they do have to justify their absences. The last date to justify absences will be sent towards the second half of the cycle. Your coordinator or sub-coordinator will send you the information about the date that will be used for the last day for students to justify absences. What this means is that students will have until that day to justify their absences. Justifications go through the secretaries. They will have to, if they're in the remote classroom, they'll have to write to the email that's on your screen. If they're in the face-to-face classroom, they can do this with a piece of paper with the secretaries in person. And these justifications are approved by the sub-coordinators. In other words, justifications are not approved by the teacher. So you don't have to worry about it because if the justification is approved, then you'll be notified by one of the secretaries or your sub-coordinator. What this means is that when you're completing your grades, when you're entering your grades in the system, which we call SysNote, there is a space there where you will put in the number of justified absences. So if the coordinator or the secretary informs you that the student has 3 justified absences, then what you will do is in your SysNote, you will write 3 days are justified. And the system will automatically calculate that and let you know if they have the correct attendance to be able to pass the level with 83.